Okay, I've been thinking a lot lately about how identity works, especially how it works online, and how something subtle but corrosive has crept into our relationships, our politics, and yes, even our music. More and more, identity isn't just about who we are or where we are from. It's become infused, and conflated with moral clarity. To state who you are is often taken to mean that you're also stating that you are right, good, and on the correct side of history. People no longer state a fact to say what they're thinking or what they think is correct. They state a fact because they're trying to tell you who they think they are. And once identity becomes moralized like that, disagreement stops being about ideas and starts being about character. If you question someone's views, you're not just challenging an opinion or a set of facts. You're challenging their goodness, their worth, their sense of belonging, their community. And that makes real conversation about any realistic, important topic next to impossible. What's interesting is that this is hardly new. Plato worried about something very similar in the Republic. He believed that certain musical modes and scales encouraged disorder, excessive emotion, and moral weakness, and that if a society allowed the wrong kinds of music, it would slowly corrupt the character of its citizenry. His solution was strikingly direct. Outlaw the dangerous modes. Cancel the modes. Keep only the morally appropriate scales. And society itself would become more just. If you change the environment, you can change the individual. And if you change enough of the environment, you can change all of the individuals. And this is why the blank slate theory is a load of horse beep. Unfortunately, music, like so many other things, has become more about moral training. And in a way, we're doing something like that now, just without explicitly banning scales. Instead of outlawing modes, and we end up policing identities. We reward the right emotional tones, the correct narratives, the approved ways of expressing pain, anger, and desire. Music at its best comes from ambiguity, from contradiction, from unresolved emotions, from those liminal spaces between right and wrong. But when identity becomes moralized, ambiguity starts to feel dangerous. People want songs, and people that signal who's right, who's wrong, rather than ones who sit honestly with grief, doubt, longing, or confusion. I've felt this personally in academic spaces where curiosity used to be rewarded and now often feels suspect. And I've felt this even more painfully in music, which used to be one of the last places I felt people can meet without having to declare their moral credentials and righteous affiliations first. That's gone as well. Online spaces amplify this. Platforms, through the gamification of culture and relationships and music, reward clarity, speed, and certitude, not depth, not hesitation, not reflection, not pause. So people learn to perform identities instead of inhabiting them or dwelling with them, as Heidegger would say, to signal belonging instead of building actual relationships. But the thing is, real relationships, romantic, creative, communal, platonic, whatever, don't survive on moral signaling. They survive on a tolerance for uncertainty. They survive on patience and on the willingness to stay when things feel unresolved and ambiguous. I think many of us are lonely, not because we lack people, but because we lack spaces, physical spaces, where we're allowed to be unfinished, where we are allowed to fail in front of our peers. I just got done reading an autobiography by Steven Tyler, and he very poignantly pointed out how he feels bad for bands these days because there's just hardly anywhere bands can go and suck in front of people. And that really hit me, and that's what prompted this today. And it's not that morals don't matter. They do. But because when morality replaces humanity, we lose the very thing that we're trying to protect. And I think a lot of us quietly are starving for places where we can just be real again and be flawed in front of our peers. Great Pan may indeed be dead, and we may well be his murderers, but he has left a trail of blood in the snow. Will you follow it with me?